Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Jamin Shively. This is my father, John Shively, and we're now going to talk about the issue of global hunger and eradicating global hunger. And the first project that we're going to work on very intensively, or that I'm going to work on very intensively, is the project of eradicating hunger in the city of Seattle. And just to give it a name, let's call the project Hungerless in Seattle. And what part of the inspiration for this was my buddy Will Rademacher, who is the founder of Flyby. That's that software company that Jonathan works for. They have created this really cool app. I'm not sure this is the latest version of the app, but anyway, Flyby is the app. And what you can do with it is you say you want to pick something up from a restaurant, right? You either call in the order, or you place the order over the internet, or you place the order through your phone, or whatever. If you're going to do it through your phone, you use the Flyby app to place the order. And in fact, many businesses are creating this capability for the first time using Flyby. But anyway, you place the order however you want to place it, and then as you're heading towards the restaurant or the retailer, you press a button on your Flyby app that says "On my way." And that way, using GPS and using traffic prediction and all that, knowing the current status of traffic, both you and the restaurant know how many minutes away you are to, to getting to that business. And so as you get closer and closer, they know, okay, great, Jamin's going to be here in 10 minutes. Let's make sure we have it ready. Okay, it's 3 minutes away. Who's going to take it? You got it? Okay, great, 3 minutes. 30 seconds away, the person from the restaurant or store takes it out in front, meets me at, there's probably a default location where it's like a 3-minute load, unload only. I roll down my window, they give me the goods, I've already paid for it, and I'm on my way. Right, so you don't have to like stop and look for a place to park and then walk into the store and, oh, is the order ready yet? No, it's not ready yet, all that. And so Flyby is revolutionizing all of that. So Will and I were having lunch one day, and I said, you know what, we could use this for letting volunteers pick up food, surplus food from restaurants and supermarkets and food manufacturers and distributors, et cetera, anyone who handles or processes food. There's just a certain amount that's discarded. That amount, it's on the order of like 35 million tons per year of food is wasted or discarded every year in the United States, and that could feed how many millions of people, right? Probably tens of millions of people for sure. And so how do we get that food which is being wasted to the hungry, right? And how do we get the right kinds of food, the right mixes of food, so that we're not just delivering calories, but we're delivering complete nutrition? Because whereas hunger is a serious problem in the United States as it is around the world, another problem is malnutrition. So you've got teenagers, kids who are eating lots of calories, and they're actually becoming obese, and some of them are dying very young because of that. And like a corn syrup and all the garbage that are being used as ingredients in processed foods today, and it's just a mess. But anyway, that's a different it's a related topic, but the main focus initially anyway is eradicating hunger and doing it the best that we can. Optimizing nutrition for the world's people is a more in-depth topic, which really it's inseparable, but the focus is initially eradicating hunger. And so I proposed that idea to Will, and he absolutely loved it. He completely grasped it and said, you know what, let's do it. So we're reaching out to restaurants and homeless shelters and food kitchens to find out how they work today. And whereas in the past, before Spectral Radius, I would have sought to just set up meetings with these people and talk with them and all that and take notes and then go home. But again, part of the paradigm of Spectral Radius is that conversations worth having are conversations worth sharing with the world, because who knows what other people in the world would love to have been in on that conversation. I mean, there are people working hard to eradicate hunger all over the country and all over the world. Let them learn from the various different meetings that we're setting up. To what we're doing in Seattle, we'd like to learn what people are doing in Sao Paulo, Brazil. What are people doing in Joburg, South Africa? right? So I'm going to set up meetings. We're going to organize meetings with the various different experts on hunger in the United States, and in Seattle specifically, and what's currently being done. So we don't want to just try to introduce our new program of, hey, we've got this great new system for empowering and enabling volunteers to efficiently get food from restaurants to homeless shelters. We want to do that in the context of what already exists, in a way that it empowers and is symbiotic with what already exists. And certainly we don't want to compete with anything that already exists. But what's really interesting about the case of Seattle is we are home to a whole bunch of extremely benevolent technology visionaries, like Bill Gates, like Nathan Myhrvold, Jeff Bezos. And so really we have an opportunity to take everything that already exists and take these new technologies that we want to introduce, these new systems and programs, and create what you could think of as the operating system for the eradication of hunger, right? Let's create a whole operating system, a whole program that's all inclusive of all these different programs that are currently operating, plus new technologies, new platforms, new systems, new methods. And let's create a true operating system for eradicating hunger, and let's implement it. First and foremost, first in the city of Seattle. I mean, we'd make it totally open source so that anyone can adopt it at any time. Will is chomping at the bit to roll out Flyby for this purpose in markets all throughout the world where it's completely, free. Basically, Will is extremely generous guy. He's going to just donate the servers, the services, all the costs of running it. It's all just donated so that volunteers can donate their time and restaurants can donate their food, and together the network creates the capability to deliver the food to the hungry. That's the operating system for the eradication of hunger. We're going to perfect it in Seattle, we're going to roll it out in Seattle, and we're going to do it we're going to launch it through a press conference in that same room where we had the press conference with President Vicente Fox, remember? And I'm really glad you were there for that, and I want you to be there for this next press conference that we're going to have about Hungerless in Seattle, because we're going to have many of those tech visionaries, all who can make it, to the press conference. I want each one to give their perspective on this, and then after the press conference, we'll already have all these reporters there. What we're going to do then is everyone's going to go down to their car. Bill Gates is going to get in his car. Nathan Myhrvold is going to get in his car. I'm presuming Bill and Nathan, you guys can make it, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about dates and times and all that. But everyone will go down to their car and do some flyby pickups and deliveries for donated food for the hungry. And so when Bill Gates gets in his car, he's going to have a reporter sitting next to him with a camera and microphone and everything. He'll be all mic'd up, and he'll go through the process of doing a pickup, and it could be a multi-restaurant pickup, because Will had the brilliant idea of, or maybe it was Jonathan. Anyway, they've got this incredible team, and they actually think like a team. They're very spectral radius-like in their operation. But anyway, Flyby came up with this concept of that you can pull up in your car in the middle of a block and get deliveries from multiple merchants at the same time. So applying that to the eradication of hunger, Bill Gates might stop in the middle of a block on 19th Street in Capitol Hill, and folks from 7 different restaurants come out with 7 different bundles. Bill rolls down his window. Hey everybody, do you mind putting it in the trunk? Boom, he pops his trunk. All these restaurateurs put their food in the trunk, close the trunk. Thanks so much, Mr. Gates. No, thank you, and thank all of us, and thanks to Flyby, et cetera, et cetera. And then boom, Bill takes his Flyby app and hits the button that says "On my way" to the homeless shelter, so that again the homeless shelter can track when Bill's going to get there. And when he gets there, again, some volunteers from the homeless shelter come and unload his trunk. So in that scenario, Bill doesn't even need to get out of his car, right? And then I'm just so curious to know his feedback on all this, and it'll be all covered by the media. So all this is going to create this amazing story about how we're eradicating hunger here in the United States, and doing it through technology and volunteers, and And well, shoot, if Bill Gates can be a volunteer for this, if it's good enough for Bill, it's probably good enough for me. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to inspire, well, through this whole story, which is kind of like stone soup, really, we're going to inspire this movement. All these volunteers who have cars that are just, well, people. Here's the beautiful thing: people are out running errands anyway, and so what the software is going to be able to do, we're actually working on architecting this, is we'll be able to analyze your traffic patterns and say, look, since these are these routes that you normally take anyway, it'll be literally, it could be 5 minutes out of your way to go a couple blocks this way, make a pickup, maybe overshoot your destination by a half mile or so that you can go to the local, homeless shelter or food bank or whatever, drop off the food, and then, go to wherever you were going anyway. And that might be 5 minutes out of your way and a mile and a half of extra driving to deliver, many pounds of food to hungry people. I mean, it's just freaking awesome. All right. So anyway, that's Hungerless in Seattle. With the media coverage that we're going to get for that out of this press conference in Seattle, and I'll see if President Fox can come join us. The mayor of Seattle, former Mayor Mike McGinn, who's a good friend, governor. I mean, let's make this. Let's put Seattle on the map as a city that looks out for its own, right, and its guests. And let's do it by first eradicating hunger, and then let's eradicate poverty after that. That's a whole other topic. But you see, with the momentum that we're going to get in the media and in the and this is stuff I learned from you, Dad, right? When all those letters to the editor that you would write on that old computer, and then you'd print it out and you'd bring it to me, and I'd be there on the kitchen table, doing math homework or whatever, and you'd say, "Hey, Jamin, can you edit this?" Remember? And I'd edit it, and and I'd say, "Hey, Dad, maybe you could say it differently this way or that way." And I mean, we did this so often. You did this so often. You led that whole process. But in the process, I learned how we can get our message out to the media. And just time and again, we'd see your letters to the editor published. In fact, I remember talking with this one guy who I met just totally serendipitously, who worked for one of the big local papers, and he got a complaint from some person who was writing letters to the editor that didn't get published, and the complaint was, "Hey, does your name have to be John Shively in order to get a letter published, a letter to the editor published?" Because they would always publish your stuff, and it kind of blew my mind. Like, I remember when we were working on that letter to the editor for calling out the city of Albany for approving a terrible freeway interchange, and we're working so hard on editing it, and it's this big long letter with all these facts. And I said, "Dad, do you really think they're going to publish this?" And you said, "Oh, they'll publish it all right." And that actually taught me an important lesson, that you can craft a message that's so powerful that that it's going to be transmitted throughout the media. And so I took that ball and ran with it. And when we were preparing to do our press conference in Seattle, announcing all of our plans in the cannabis industry, and cooperations with other institutions, consolidation of the industry, etc., I said, shoot, why not invite former, well, it wasn't my idea, it was actually John Davis's idea, to invite former Mexican President Vicente Fox, who I knew from previous work together, but it had been several years since we'd spoken. And so, but I mean, it was because of your example, Dad, that I started to kind of learn and get the idea, what are the different levers that we can pull to get a message to really get out there and go viral. And of course, with what we did with President Fox, just go to YouTube and type in Jamin Shively, Vicente Fox, and you'll see some amazing stuff from those press conferences. We did one in Seattle, another one here in San Francisco that you also attended, and then we did the big one in Mexico, the big 3-day conference. Anyway, amazing stuff. But you see, we're going to leverage that same power, that same magic with the media, with PR, with creating memes that go viral. Hungerless in Seattle, that's just a name that we threw out there, but it may be the one that sticks, right? I mean, one of the memes that I came up with for that press conference in Seattle was, "We're going to mint more millionaires than Microsoft," right? And then, oh man, the media just took that and ran with it, and it was actually quoted in the U.S. Senate hearings in September 2013. I was the only cannabis entrepreneur mentioned in the entire U.S. Senate hearings on cannabis legalization. And President Fox was mentioned along with me, and it was, I mean, that's how powerful this. And they quoted that very meme that they're going to mint more millionaires than Microsoft. I mean, so you see that's how we can interject some kind of, some of that Spanish salsa that we got in our genes through Diego Pellicer and Grandma Fien, Josefina Pellicer. But anyway, with this, we're going to make this an international story. Right? Seattle eradicates hunger and lays the framework for other major cities across the world to eradicate hunger through the operating system of the eradication of hunger. I mean, how cool is that? Right? And with Bill Gates on board, I'm presuming Bill will be on board. How could he not? Nathan Myhrvold as well, one of the biggest owners of intellectual property on the entire planet. Had a great breakfast with Nathan a few weeks ago. I actually had the privilege of organizing a breakfast between Congressman Dana Rohrabacher and Nathan Myhrvold on the topic of intellectual property, but quickly Nathan got onto the topic of the next generation nuclear power that they're developing, right? Which is another topic that I'd like to blow up in a big way, right? Get international attention and discussion on. But anyway, I went off on some tangents there, but which is to make a point that we're going to be leveraging the media hugely in this topic and other topics so that these become global conversations on spectral radius. So we'll be driving people to spectral radius, attracting the right people. And from there, see, in wealthy cities where there's a lot of surplus, it's a matter of how do we get that surplus to the people who need it. But then you have whole other parts of the world where there is no surplus, like sub-Saharan Africa. There simply isn't enough food in that place, in that region. And so the United Nations estimates that we would need a budget of about $30 billion per year to eradicate hunger, right? Through a combination of relief programs and long-term development projects, education, et cetera, et cetera. Many of these programs, a lot of programs already exist in all three of those major categories, but there isn't enough of it, right? We need more funds, so we need $30 billion per year budget. It turns out, if you do the math, if a third of the companies in the world were to contribute 0.1% of their revenue to eradicating hunger, we would raise over $30 billion per year, significantly more. We'd overshoot. And so we're creating a program. It's essentially like a marketing program that, I mean, look, from a capitalistic standpoint, which is how a lot of these businesses are going to look at it first and foremost, not all of them, but a lot of them, it's like, okay, what's in it for me? You want me to donate this money? What do I get? Well, you get the distinction that you are a member of the compassionate economy. You're part of the compassionate economy. So we created a nonprofit organization called Compassionate Economy for that purpose, to create this program and implement it, and to give the companies who participate recognition as a compassionate company, as a company that's a member of, that's a part of, that's a pillar of the compassionate economy. Compassion is the fundamental thing, if you could put a name on it, that's missing from our economy right now. What's our economy based on? Our economy is based on private property, individual freedom, the right to make a profit, the right to accumulate as much as you want. But compassion is totally missing from that foundation. And so anyway, that's something that we're going to build into the foundation of the global economy through the compassionate economy. So anyway, that's as much of an introduction as we have time for right now on the topic of eradicating global hunger. Thank you for joining us, and please watch the related topics, specifically reversing desertification, climate change, etc. Talk soon.